Hello, in this video we're going to talk about combining two different functions together, okay? And it's going to start off really easy and get pretty complex by the end, but it's really kind of a basic principle, and as long as we're taking a lot of notes and as long as we're being very detailed, we shouldn't have as many problems with it, okay? So let's kind of just jump right in here and let's talk about what we're going to do today. Okay, we're specifically talking about combining two different functions together. We're going to add, we're going to subtract, we're going to multiply, and we're going to get some practice on this. I'm very big on practice. You're going to see a lot of practice problems on this. Okay, I really like this one because in combining functions, I can save some money, right? I can combine two different cells that any store is having and figure out which one's going to save me the most money. All right, so let's kind of just get into it just a little bit here. I want to just do a little bit of review for a second. Okay. If x equals 7 and y equals 14, okay, those are just some givens that I'm telling you right now. Okay, if those two are true, then what is x plus y? Well, we know that x is 7 and y is 14, so we can just kind of plug in 7 for x, 14 for y, and go 7 plus 14 equals 21. So it's perfect. Okay, let's do the next one. What's x times y? Well, if I know what x is 7 and y is 14, what's 7 times 14? Well, that's 98. Okay, so we're trying to make it as easy as we can here. This is something that you already know. We've already kind of done these previously in pre-algebra. We're just going to apply it to a little bit different setting now. Okay, let's talk about functions. H of x equals 12. Now, this is a function. The function h of x is equal to 12. And then the function g of x is equal to 5. Okay, so just the same way that we just did that previous one. Well, what's h of x plus g of x? Well, in the previous one, we just plugged in our values, right? It was 7 for x and then 14 for y. Well, right here, I know what the value of h of x is. It's 12. And I know what the value of g of x is. It's 5. So I'm just going to go 12 plus 5, and that's going to give me a total of 17. Okay. All we're doing is just plugging these values in. Let's do another one. What if we did h of x times g of x? Well, that's pretty much the same process, except instead of adding the two together, we're going to multiply the two. So 12 times 5 is going to give us 60. And then what if I just threw a curveball at you and I said, well, what is negative 3 times h of x? Well, we know h of x is 12, so if I go negative 3 times 12, that should give me 36. Okay, now that we've got that, let's just do a little bit of review on combining polynomials together. Okay, these are two different polynomials that we're going to add together. And remember with polynomials, when we add them, when we combine them together, I have to combine like terms, meaning they have to have the same variable, in this case it's x, and it has to have the same exponent. They have to be raised to the same power. So 5x cubed I can combine with 3x cubed because they're both x cubed, but I can't combine 5x cubed with negative 12x squared. It doesn't work. They have to be the same variable and the same exponent, okay? Now what I do on these is I do like a little squiggly line just to kind of tell me which ones go with which. So in this case, the x cubes will go together, the x squareds will go together, and of course just the constant, just the numbers will always go. So the 3 and the negative 10 will always go together. Okay, I'm going to bunch these just a little bit just to make it clear. This 5x cubed and the 3x cubed, I'm going to put those two together. Okay, 6x squared, negative 12x squared, put those two together. And then now I'm just going to combine all of those. And when I do that, here we go. So I've got 5x cubed plus 3x cubed gives me 8x cubed. 6x squared minus 12x squared gives me a negative 6x squared. And then 3 minus 10 gives me my negative 7. Okay? Now, I could do the same exact problem, but I could label it as a function. So this would be, let's say, h of x here, and this one would be g of x. And then I go h of x plus g of x equals what? And this would be your answer. So that's kind of where we're going to take this, okay? So let's try that here, okay? All right, I've got g of x. We know what g of x is equal to. We know what h of x is equal to. I'm asking you to add these two together, okay? And then for problem number 2, I'm asking you to take, and I want you to subtract h of x, this quantity, from this quantity. Okay, so I'm very big on practice. So I want you to pause the video right now. I want you to work out these two. After you've obtained the answer, come back and push play, and then you can kind of check your answers and see if you got the correct answer. Okay, so push pause on the video now. Okay, hopefully you got the right answers. The tricky one on this second one, the second one is definitely tricky with this subtraction sign because we're going this entire quantity minus this entire quantity. So this subtraction sign, we're actually going to distribute to everything inside of the parentheses, which is the entire quantity h of x. So that's going to change the sign on every one of those. So if you messed up, just check that one just to make sure. It's kind of a little bit tricky, but not the end of the world, okay? All right. Now, here's our real life situation, right? A teacher at the school wants to get an iPad and wants to get a TI Inspire. Okay, well, the function of the TI Inspire is 95x plus 10, right? $10 for shipping, $95 to buy the item. And then the iPad is $500, so just 500 times x. Well, what if we want to calculate what it's going to be if they want an iPad and they want a calculator? Okay, so let's do that. Do that right now. Find f of h of x. Push pause on the video now. Combine those two together, and after you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Okay. Did you get 595x plus 10? That is combining those two together. Our x values we can combine. Our 10 doesn't combine with anything, so we just write it. And when we're writing these, remember, we always write the variable first. So it's always going to have the x first, followed by the constant or just the number. So, all right. I'm going to give you a little more practice here. Take a minute and work through these. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. So push pause right now. Okay. Check your answers here. Again, this is a subtraction, so hopefully you got the -2 here. Now, this one gets just a little bit complex because it's division, and we're like, well, how do we do that one? I've got an x squared. I've got x on top and bottom, but remember, you cannot pull out an x, okay? If this were x squared plus 2x, we could pull out an x and maybe cross an x off of top and bottom, but because it's an addition here, we can't. It'll change the value. Okay, we can't just simply cross off the x's. That will definitely change the value, so we can't do that on these. So that's just your answer. That's as good as it gets for right now. Okay, now I want you to try these. I'm throwing a little bit at you here with this 2 times the quantity g of x, okay? But I think you can handle it. So I want you to pause the video now. I want you to work through these. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Okay. Check your answers here. Hopefully you were able to get an answer pretty quick here. This top one wasn't too difficult. The bottom one, again, with that -3, we're going to be distributing that to everything on the inside. So hopefully you're starting to get the feel of these a little bit better. Okay, now we're going to start multiplying, so it's going to get just a little bit crazier on you, okay? But not that big of a deal. Same premise. We're going to take this f of x here, and we're going to multiply it times this h of x. We're going to multiply those two together. Okay. So I want you to push pause on the video right now, work out your solution, and then come back and then check your answer with me, okay? Okay, check your answer on these. Remember, x cubed times x gives me x to the 4th power. Okay, hopefully you got that one. Okay, I'm going to give you just a little bit more practice here, and then we're going to start adding in some really difficult stuff. But let's get some more practice on these. So push pause on the video now, and then work out your solution. And after you've obtained it, then come back and push play, and then you can check your answer. Check your answers on these. Okay, hopefully by this point you're starting to get the hang of it just a little bit. If you're making an error, hopefully it's just a really small error and you can correct those, okay? Just remember on this one, these are 2 quantities, so some of you have learned the FOIL method. That's where you're foiling these first, outside, inside, last, foil them. Then you can do that same thing here. That would be appropriate here. All right. Now we're going to get into a little bit more difficult ones. Okay, so this notation here is not a multiplication symbol. This is h of g of x. And it's also written like this sometimes, h of g of x. And what this basically means is whatever comes second, we're going to take that entire quantity and plug that entire quantity in for x on the other problem. Okay, so g comes second, so we're going to take this entire quantity, this x squared, and we're going to plug this entire thing in just for the x, okay? All right, so here we go. We're going to take that entire thing, and I'm going to plug it in just for the x value. All right, let's work through this just a little bit here. So my h of x is originally x plus 2. But I'm taking this entire quantity and I'm going to plug it right in here for this x. And as I do that, x squared, right? This is x squared. I'm plugging it into where x was. That gives me x squared plus 2. That's my answer. That's as easy as it gets. Okay, well, let's get a little bit crazy with it then. Let's reverse it. Let's go g of h of x. Okay, so that means I'm going to take this entire quantity over here and I'm going to plug the entire thing in for x here. Now, sometimes you'll see it written this way as well. But I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to plug it right in here for x. Okay, so this entire quantity here, it's the same thing as g of x plus 2, right? Because h of x is the same thing. So I'm going to plug that entire quantity right in just for that x value. And then we're going to take that whole quantity and then square it. All right, so let's do that. That's my g of x. I'm going to take the entire quantity here, and then I'm going to square it. Well, what's x plus 2 squared? Okay, so I need to divide that into 2. Oh, not divide it, but I'm going to separate it into 2. X plus 2 times x plus 2. That's when we're going to use our foiling again, okay? So that gives me x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, so that's when we got just a little bit crazy. I'm going to do one more with you and show you how to do it. Then I'm going to give you some practice on some of these, okay? All right, let's do one here. F of h of x. And again, sometimes it's written this way, f of h of x. Both mean the same thing. So that means that I'm going to take this entire quantity here of h of x and plug the whole thing in just for the x value. That's it, just for the x value. I'm not touching anything else. Okay, so originally it was f of x is 3x plus 2, but now I'm going to take this whole thing, 2x minus 10, and plug that whole quantity right here for x. Okay, so let's do that. Plug that whole quantity right here for x. Notice how it's 3 times the quantity x. So now it's 3 times the quantity 2x minus 10. So that means I'm going to have to distribute this 3 to everything inside. Let's do that now. That 3 to everything inside, that gives me 6x minus 30. And then I just haven't touched this yet. I'm going to now. They are like terms. I always like to do a little squiggly line. Those are like terms. I'm going to combine those two together. So then it gives me 6x. Let's see, negative 30 plus 2 gives me negative 28. So my answer here, f of h of x, is 6x minus 28. Okay, those are kind of crazy, right? I want you to take a minute right now. I want you to get some practice. Okay, so let's pull up the next set of problems. So here's the next set of problems, and just start with these. Okay, you're going to push pause on the video in just a moment. Just a refresher, whatever comes second, we're going to take this quantity and plug it right in here for x, okay? That's your hint. Okay, so push pause on the video now. Work through both of these two problems. After you've obtained the answer, come back and push play, and then you can check your answers, okay? Okay, the first one wasn't too bad. The second one just got a little bit more complex because we had to multiply everything by 2, but not too bad. If you got these two right, congratulations, you're really starting to get it, okay. But we're going to give you some more practice. I'm a big fan of practice, so let's go through a couple more problems. Number 2 gets a little bit crazy. I'm not going to give you any hints other than it's a little bit crazy. I want to see if you can get it. Okay, so push pause on the video now, and then come back and push play. After you've obtained your answers, of course. Okay, number 2, before I give you the answers. Number 2, f of x. That means we're taking this entire quantity right here, 2x plus 3, and we're going to take it and we're going to plug the entire quantity into itself right where the x is. Now that sounds crazy, huh? So 2x plus 3, we're going to plug that whole thing in for where x is. Okay, let's check our answers here. So that's essentially what we did. It's 2x plus 3, and I took this entire quantity and I plugged it right in here for x. So 2 times the quantity, 2x plus 3, plus 3. And then we just reduce it, and our final answer is 4x plus 9. So that one got a little bit weird on us. Not as bad once you just get a little bit of practice on it, okay? But just try those, especially on your homework. Okay, let's talk about how this is going to save you some money. So let's say that Sears is having a sale. And Sears, we buy all of our washers and dryers from Sears. So we walk into Sears, and my wife has this picked out. She loves this washer, so she really wants it. And I say, okay, great. And they're having a sale where they're doing 10% off. And then Maytag, that happens to be the washer that my wife really wants. So Maytag's having another sale that's a $100 rebate. And we said, okay, well, can we combine the two? And they said, yeah, you can combine the two. Okay. So here's what I would like you to do. I want you, well, let's kind of go through this part together. If X is going to represent how many I'm going to buy, right? And what the final price is going to help us obtain our final price here. Okay. So if we get a 10% discount only, what does that function look like? Well, if I'm going to get a 10% discount, I'm paying 90% of the original price. So the function would be if X is the original price, it would be 90% of that. So 0.9 times X, right? F of X. Now, if we got a $100 rebate, this is going to be G of X. So if we got the $100 rebate, well, if my original price was X and I got a $100 rebate, that would be X minus $100. Okay. So X minus 100. Great. Well, then you come up to the salesperson and the salesperson says, okay, great. You've got these two. If F of G of X represents applying the $100 rebate, then the $10 discount, is that better? Or should we go G of F of X, which represents getting the 10% discount, then getting the $100, right? Because the person at the store is going, well, would you rather have me apply the $100 discount first or after I apply the 10% discount? Well, you go, well, does it make a difference? Let's find out. Okay, so work through these two. Find out what F of G of X is and find out what G of F of X is. Okay, so pause the video now. Let's have you work out both of those, and then you tell me what you think the correct answer is. Push pause now. Okay, if we do the first one, which is applying the $100 rebate, then the 10% discount, this is our function right here. 0.9x minus 90. Good deal, right? I'm getting a decent price. I got 90% of the original price, plus I'm getting a $90 discount. That's good. The second one, though, if I do that one out, I get the 0.9 minus 100. So that means it's going to save me $10. It's going to actually be better if I can apply that 10% discount first, then get the $100 rebate. So this is definitely the better deal. That's the one I want. So whenever I'm going to the salesperson, I'll tell them, you apply the 10% discount first, then give me the $100 off. Otherwise, you're only going to get 90% of that $100 rebate from Maytag. You don't want that. You want the full thing. Okay. Finally, this is the last one we're going to do. Okay. Number 2 gets a little bit crazy just because there's such large numbers. But I just want to see if you can do it. Okay. Number 1, you should be very, very good at this point. You should be able to do that one. Okay. Push pause on the video now and then work out both of these. And then when you've obtained the correct answers, come back and push play. Check your answers. Okay, if you got number 2, you are on the ball. That is not an easy problem to do. We're going to get to those a little bit later on this year. But for right now, that's really, really good. So this will finalize this video on combining functions. I hope you found it valuable. If you do have questions, please let me know. But hopefully that this helped a little.